It may have been 5 or 10 years since you sold your last house. You may have never sold a house before. You may have sold a couple, but you're kind of interested in all the nuances of selling the house. So in this video, we're going to break it down from staging to getting the house ready to pricing, going through the whole motions, getting to closing. We're going to walk you step by step what to expect when you go on the market with your house. How do we get it sold? We're going to break it all down for you right now. Steve, Malone Realty Group, EXP here in the Atlanta area. So the reason we're making this video, I've got some clients I'm working with right now who this was her first house that she purchased. She's selling it and has never sold the house before. And so sometimes, as a realtor, we just, sometimes we assume certain things, and I've had to, walk her through the whole process just because this is her first time. So I thought this would be a really great video to make because there's a lot of people out there who have either never sold or it's been a long time. Things are different now than they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So if you're going to sell your house this spring or this summer or whenever, how does it work right now? We're going to break it down. Step-by-step process. Selling your house 2023. What does it look like? Here we go. All right, so the first thing we do, we set the stage. We get the house ready, okay? Let's say you've identified your house wants to go on the market. You want to get it sold, okay? That being said, we don't just throw a sign up in the yard and let's get some offers. We got to set the stage. We got to get the house ready. We've talked before, and I'll put a link below to our tips on how to get the house staged and ready to go on the market. We're talking about painting. We're talking about decluttering, cleaning the house, doing some landscaping, focusing on the big rooms, things like that. Getting your house ready. So if you're thinking to yourself right now, I'm going to list my house maybe sometime mid to late April. I'm recording this mid to late February. Okay. You have 2 months from this point to then to get your stuff done. And so if I've got 8 things I want to get done to the house, you've got 8 weekends, one a weekend, bada bang, bada bam, bada boom, and you're in and you're out. So come up with your game plan. That's something that we do for our clients. We'll come over and say, hey, look, we always say if you drop a $100,000 kitchen into your house, it's probably going to help the house sell. I don't know if you're going to get $100,000 back out of it. More than likely you're not, unless it's like a super duper high-end neighborhood. It's going to take a while to sell all that good stuff, whatever. But there are cost-effective things that you can do to your house to make it more appealing in pictures, to make it more marketable. It's going to knock buyers' socks off when they walk through the house, and they're going to be cheap. If we can do all those things, those are the things we're talking to our people about. So we'll come up with a game plan for over the next 2 months, do all of these things. Let's get your house ready. So that's the very first thing. If you're going to get on the market, we've got to set the stage. We got to make this house, because the house right now that you're living in is drastically different than the house that we're going to present to the market, because we want to definitely declutter it. We want to clean it. We want to paint it. We also want to depersonalize it. Okay. That's right now is your home. When we put it on the market, we want it to be a house that could potentially become somebody else's home. Okay. And we want to present it that way. We'll talk more about that if you want to talk about that. We talk about that more in that video. Again, I'll put it down below, the link to getting your house ready to get on the market. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to set the stage. That's number one. Number two thing that we are going to do, we're going to come up with a price. Okay. Now, we've talked about pricing before as well. The price is a very important factor in the house getting sold. Okay. It's probably the most important marketing tool that we have. I'm going to put that video below as well. Marketing tools that we have, your price is the biggest one, because we can do all the singing and dancing. We can do all the dancing people out front. We can do flamethrowers. We can do whatever to get people into the house. The house is mad overpriced. People aren't going to buy it. It's just as simple as that. Buyers know what stuff is worth. So pricing the house for this market, because that's the other thing. Markets are different. Even here, we're recording this mid to late February. This market right now is drastically different than the market we had in December. But with interest rates starting to creep up over these last couple of weeks, it could be a drastically different market in just a couple of weeks. And if the rates go back down, it could be a drastically different market. The markets are going to change. So pricing-wise, we have to keep that in mind when we're pricing our houses accordingly. Sometimes we get a little more aggressive and see what we can get. Sometimes we have to really hold close. The thing that we always talk about, though, is we want to stay pretty close to the appraisal price. We're going to look at comps. What is sold in your neighborhood? People down the street sold for $400. People across the street from you sold for 400, people up the hill sold for 400, and everybody's houses are about the same, you're going to sell somewhere in the neighborhood of 400. That's what we're going to list. Let the market work it out. If you can get 410, 415, the market will work it out. They'll bring you an offer for 410 because you're going to have multiple offers. Okay, we want to provide value. Everybody always thinks to themselves, let's go high and work down. If you go high and work down, you're going to be on the market a lot longer. You're going to lose a lot of negotiating leverage. People are going to wonder what's wrong with the house because it's just not going to sell. Okay, so pricing, very important. That's what we're going to do. We sit down and come up with a price to get the house sold. Okay, a price that's going to cause the house to sell. Okay, that's our goal, because I want to get all my people every dollar they possibly can. But if we can't get the big number because we just can't get it because that's not in the cards, we're not going to lie to our people. We're just not going to be able to get it. Okay, we look at what the appraisal value is, look at all the other values in the neighborhood are, and we go accordingly. Okay, so there you go. The price. Come up with a price. So we set the stage, come up with the price. Now, showtime. All right, now we list the home. Bam, you're live. We always list our homes on a Thursday. It's the best day of the week to list a home. It maximizes the amount of traffic you're going to get on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are the big days. Sometimes, depending on the neighborhood, market, price point, what we'll do is we'll hold showings until probably middle part of the day on Saturday until the open house, build up a little excitement, things like that, and then bam, we got like a big open house. We call it our golden house program, and we get a lot of people standing out front seeing each other, whatever, and they come in for the open house, and all of a sudden you get offers. Okay, so that's something that we can do for our clients as well. But we get on the market. Now, the thing to keep in mind is once you go on the market, what you're going to do is if you're living there, there is a program that notifies you when somebody is asked to come see the house. If they want to come see the house Friday at 5, you get something on your phone and says if somebody's requesting Friday at 5. Can you do it? Yes or no? You hit yes. 5 o'clock, they're going to show up to show the house. Sometimes they don't make it because of traffic, sometimes whatever. There's no way to tell if they're going to make it or not. Obviously, they're looking for houses. They're probably going to make it, but there are times where that happens, and it happens. So be ready for that. And it's frustrating, and I completely know that. But most of the time, they're going to show up at the house and look at the house. The more of those dings you get on your phone saying, well, I want to look at the house, I want to look at the house, I want to look at the house, the better it is for you. The more people looking at the houses, the more potential for offers. The quicker the offers are going to come in, the better the offers are going to be, the better the final offer you're going to get. If you're not getting a lot of dings on your phone right off the bat, the price may be a little too high. But it's something we'll worry about as we go down the line. But if it's priced right, you're going to get some notifications throughout the weekend. We're going to be showing the house. We may have an open house the first weekend. We may not. It all depends on the market, depends on the area, all that good stuff. As people are showing the houses, what's going to happen is we may start getting some offers. The hope is to get multiple offers, obviously, because multiple offers means I can reach out to everybody and say, hey, y'all, we have multiple offers. And my seller is letting everybody know we have multiple offers. They're going to review all the offers on Sunday evening and come up with a winner, let's say Sunday night. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. That's the ultimate goal, is to get multiple offers the first weekend. A lot of people are going to say, well, if you have multiple offers, the house is priced too low. No. If you have multiple offers, the house is priced correctly, because you can underprice a house. Yes, if it's supposed to sell for $400,000 and you sell it for $200,000 to get a bunch of people in there, you're not going to get up to $400,000. But let's say the market price is $405,000 or $410,000. If you list at $400,000, you're going to get a bunch of people in there that see the value of the house. They can put in a bunch of offers, and somebody's going to bid that up to $405,000, $410,000. That's the easier way of getting the $405,000, $410,000 than going $425,000 and hoping we get something higher. Okay, we always go just under market price. The faster we get offers, the more negotiating we get for the next stages. And that's what we're going to talk about next, is the negotiating. Okay, so right now we have a bunch of offers in a perfect world. Even if we have just one, our job then is to negotiate and get you the best deal possible. But that's how that part of it works. Once you go on the market, you have some showings, you may have an open house. If you have anybody who ever shows up at your house and knocks on the door and says, I see your house is for sale, can I come and look at it? No. Always call me or your agent, if it's not me, but it should be me. Always call the agent and say, hey, Bob's standing on my front porch. They want to see the house. Can you talk to them? I'll talk to them and say, hey, look, I need to set up a time for us to come out and meet with you, all the good stuff. You just don't know if they're pre-qualified. You don't know intentions, things like that. Our job is to protect our people. So we're just going to deal with realtors who are putting times through the system, through showing time is the name of the program they'll call it. They come out and they look at the house. So look at the house. We get offers. What happens next? Negotiating time. All right, so now we enter the negotiating window. All right, first negotiation is with the offer. So if we have multiple offers, we're just going to ask for the highest and best offer. We're going to leverage all those other offers to get to the best offer. The highest offer is not always the best offer. You may get an offer that's really high, but they may not have a real good pre-qualification letter. It may be Bob's bank down the street, and Bob doesn't have a bank down the street, or Bob's bank does terrible loans. It may be a more reputable lender, but they may have a slightly less offer. There's other things that we want to look at. There's the due diligence period. There's things like that. So keep that in mind. There are all different things that we need to look at when negotiating the offer, but our job is to negotiate you the best offer possible. We negotiate, we go back and forth, whatever, and finally everybody agrees this is a deal. Bam, you are under contract. Congratulations. All right, now that we've negotiated the deal, we're under contract. That's negotiation number one. Number two, we negotiate after their inspection. They're going to enter what's called the due diligence period in the state of Georgia. Now, in other states, it's a little bit different from state to state. So talk to a realtor in another state, or if you need introductions, we can introduce you to, we have an EXP network of agents all over the country. So let me know if I need to point you in the right direction. But there's different periods, different names that they call it, and different rights that buyers have, things like that in all the other states. Talking about Georgia. State of Georgia, you have a due diligence period. In that due diligence period, unless you waive it, in that due diligence period, you have the right to do your due diligence. You do an inspection. There's an issue. You can negotiate to get those issues fixed. You can look at things as far as like getting a termite letter done. If you're worried about the roof, you can get a roofer out there to take a look at the roof. Have the HVAC looked at by an HVAC technician. Got to do your due diligence looking at the house. Okay. Now, doing all that due diligence, if the buyer decides that they want to terminate in that window, usually it's 7 days, they want to terminate, they can terminate, and they will get their earnest money back. Okay, earnest money is that money that would go towards the house, but it's kind of cash in the deal. That's their kind of, cash to keep them in the deal all the way to closing. They would get that back during the due diligence period. That's how it works in the state of Georgia. Now, what will typically happen is the buyer's going to look at the house, they're going to do an inspection, they're going to ask for some fixes. It's our job to then negotiate what are we going to fix. They may ask for very superficial stuff. We may come back and say we're not going to do those superficial stuff. If there's something major, we'll agree to do something major, things like that, blah, blah, blah. We'll go back and forth. And really this is where, when we talk about getting the most offers possible, this is where that comes in play. If I've got 10 offers on a house and that winning offer knows that there's another 9 offers that were out there, they don't have as much hand in the negotiating as if somebody who bought the house 2 months after it went on the market and they're the only offer. They got a lot more hand in the negotiating. Okay, so that's part of the reason why we want to price aggressively, we want to price right and not go too far over. We want to get offers quick because we want to get lots of offers. That's lots of security going into the negotiating. That being said, they're going to ask us for fixes. We're going to say we don't want to fix that. We'll fix this. We go back and forth. That's our second negotiating. Once we agree on the amendment to address concerns, as it's called, or we agree to help them out with closing costs, whatever it is, once we agree to the fixes, that typically will close the due diligence window. Keep in mind, they can leave the due diligence, or they can leave during due diligence for any reason at all in the state of Georgia. Okay? Not just, they may just wake up and say, I don't want the house anymore, and they're gone. And they will get their earnest money back. It's just the law. It's the way it is. Once that ends, then the next thing that we have to negotiate potentially is the appraisal. This is what we talked about earlier. Appraiser is going to come out and they're going to look at the house. They're going to determine this house, what is the house worth? Because the bank's putting up money to finance the house. So the bank wants to know, is this house really worth it? So if you're buying a house that's 400, the bank wants to know the house is worth 400. So they're going to bring in a third party appraiser to come in and look at the house. If they come in and say the house is worth 400, nothing to worry about, nothing to negotiate. If it's worth 410, then that's good. They get a little bit of equity. We cleared the appraisal. Nothing to worry about. But if it comes in at 390, that's where the problem lies. Anything under 400, then all of a sudden we have a problem. Either the people buying the house have to come in with more cash, we have to go down on price, we have to meet somewhere in the middle, or we walk away. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the appraisal and see if we can fight it. It's very hard to fight an appraisal. In 5 years, I've done it a couple times successfully. I've done it several times unsuccessfully. Is what it is, because you can't just say, come on, which really is. Come on, but you need to have due cause of they may have missed a house, like a comp that would help, or they may have missed square footage, or may have missed whatever. There has to be a reason. You can't just say, oh, come on. There has to be a reason that you can contest that appraisal, okay? But that's going to be the last part of negotiating is how can we, if we have to go down, we have to go down. If we can meet halfway, whatever. And each situation's different. Each situation's unique, but we walk you through that. But those are the things you need to keep in mind. Those are the negotiatings. The offer, during due diligence, we negotiate about the inspection, and then the appraisal if we need to negotiate. But if we can get through the appraisal, we can agree and move on, we're almost home. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to approach closing, okay? On the buy side, the buyer's the one that really has to worry about things going towards closing. They get all their documents in, they got to stay employed, don't buy Winnebago, things like that. For you, you just got to start getting the house ready to sell and getting your stuff out, okay? Because at closing, unless you agree otherwise, at closing, that's when you exchange the ownership of the house. So you go into the house, you go into closing as the owner, you leave not the owner. So you go in and you can do whatever you want in the house up to closing, and then after that, it's their house, right? So you got to get out everything that you need to get out. Before you sell, you're going to fill out a seller's property disclosure, which is going to talk about the age of the roof, the age of the water heater, the age of the, like all that stuff, all the nitpicky stuff. The other thing you're going to do on that is label what's going to stay and what's going to go. Okay, so what's going to stay, you're going to check. What's going to go, you're not going to check. So keep that in mind as you go to closing. If you've checked it, that's going to stay, it needs to stay. If you have not checked it, that's going to go, it needs to go. Period. That's it. I've had clients in the past that they left a washer. They told me, they said, we're planning on leaving the washer, and I said, then you need to check it. Okay, I'm not going to remember this conversation. I have 6 kids, and my brain is like pudding at times, so I'm not going to remember this. Check it on the thing. They didn't check it on the thing. The buyer wanted to get rid of the washer, and it caused a lot of headache, all the good stuff. So keep that in mind. If you check it, it stays. If you don't check it, it's gone. All right? Keep that in mind going into closing. Before closing, the buyer's going to do a final walkthrough, like 1 30-minute walk to be sure there's no holes in the walls. You left everything you were supposed to leave. You didn't take out anything. You didn't take out ceiling fans, all that good stuff, right? So once we get to closing, bring all the keys, bring the garage door openers, all that stuff, any kind of information about the HOA, whatever. Typically, like if there's like books about the oven or the fridge or whatever, always leave them in the kitchen, in the drawer in the kitchen. But everything else is going to be gone. And we go to closing. You're not going to sign a whole lot. They're going to sign a whole lot because they're getting a loan. So there's a lot of loan docs. You're just signing the stuff saying, I'm signing over the house to somebody else. So there's not a whole lot to sign at closing. But keep in mind, that's what it's all going to look like when you get to closing. You're going to allow for them to do a final walkthrough. You're going to take everything out you're supposed to, leave everything you're supposed to, bring the keys, bring the garage door openers, bring your driver's license, and I'll see you at closing. So then you get to closing. All right, so you're at closing or you're finishing up closing. Typically, that's the most carefree part of the whole situation. Now, for you, as you sell, you might be renting next. You might be buying in another state and renting until you find something in another state. You may have already found a house and you might be double ending a deal. I'm buying at 12 o'clock, selling at 12 o'clock, buying at 1 o'clock. Have that happen all the time too. Whatever it is. And typically or the the whole deal can be a little stressful, a lot of back and forth, especially during negotiating. There's a lot of pushing. Sometimes agents push a lot more than others, things like that. But the thing to keep in mind is once you get to closing, everybody's typically in a good mood. Typically. We've had a couple bad mood closings before, but for the most part, everybody's in a good mood because the buyer ultimately, they just wanted to buy the house because they loved it. And ultimately, you wanted to sell the house because you needed to sell the house. And when you show up to sell and they show up to buy, they loved your house. And that's usually a really cool moment when that happens. Once you sell and you leave, this is how all agents should be. This is how we are. When you walk away from closing, you're part of our family. All right, we call our, a lot of agents call their past clients. They're our forever clients. Okay, our job is to take care of our people forever, and that's not just buying and selling houses, but you may need a roofer, you might need an HVAC person, you might need all these different things. Call me. I work with all of those. If you Google, you're going to get somebody who paid a lot for SEO, which is good for them. Doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're doing. We got people that know what they're doing. Give me a call. That's what we do. We help. I get calls from my people all the time. And I've had one she calls me all the time. And she apologized to me recently. She said, I'm so sorry I keep calling. I said, I told you to call me. That's what I'm here for. I want to be sure you're happy in the home. Because yes, obviously, at some point they're going to want to sell that house that they just bought, or they're going to want to buy another house. After they sold, they bought the next house, whatever. I want to take care of my people forever. If I take really good care of my people, they'll be with me forever. That's the way that it works. That's the beauty of real estate. There's a lot of realtors don't think that way. That's how we think, and I think that's why we've hung in there for a while, especially through all the craziness the last couple of years. Take care of our people. Anyway, so I say all that to say, even though you leave closing, you're part of the family forever. So you always reach out, whether it's to me or to whatever realtor you use, even if it's not me, it should be, but let's say you're in another state or for some reason you didn't use me. I'm just kidding. Reach out to your realtor. And there are no dumb questions. I got one where the people who sold the house, they had a tax issue and the tax man was coming after them and they had the old address. So they were actually coming to my people's house looking for them. And I had to call the closing attorney to be sure everything was squared away with the man and all that stuff, and everything got worked out. Again, that's what we do. We're forever clients, or we have forever clients. If the man comes knocking on your door, you call me, I'll help you work it out. Okay, that's the deal. That's what happens past closing. So that's the post-close, and then there it is. All right, so I probably missed a couple of small things here and there, forms you have to fill out, things like that. But that gives you kind of a real kind of broad outline of what to expect as you're selling your house. Okay, we've got the kind of get it staged, get it priced, get it on the market, start negotiating, get to closing. That's it. And we broke it all down. If you have any questions, because it's a crazy process. And sometimes it's like, all right, Steve, I watched your 15, 20-minute video, whatever that turns out to be, but you didn't cover blank. Please call me, 470-233-4409, and I will answer your question. Or you can email me. Email's below. So there's a couple of videos I told you about are below. Email's below as well. Let me know if you have any questions. That's what we're here to do. Here to help out however we can. And hang in there. Because if you haven't sold before, or if it's been a long time or whatever, the process can be crazy. The process can be a little stressful, but we'll walk you through it to where it's a successful process. We'll get your home sold. This is Steve, Malone Realty Group, EXP, Atlanta. Take care. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching the video today. If you want more information on what's going on in the real estate market, take a look at some of these videos over here that we've posted, keeping up with what buying, selling, things that are going on in the North Georgia market. But if you want to keep up with everything that we post to our YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel down there, bottom right. That way you won't miss out on anything.